Hello and welcome to Newswatch with me, Savira Ahmed. A cultural landmark worthy of serious treatment, the release of Grand Theft Auto 5 puts the BBC's attitude to video games under the spotlight. With a year to go till the referendum, coverage of the Scottish independence debate faces an English backlash.
I'm worried that the BBC are going to flood us with what is essentially a Scottish issue.
Good morning and welcome to BBC
what's
News.
That he's holding in his hands? A news channel presenter seems to be on his way to refill the printer. It's the latest in a franchise which has already sold 135 million units. GTA 5, as the most recent edition of the Grand Theft Auto video game is called, is forecast to make £630 million in its first month. Its release on Tuesday was covered by the BBC's technology correspondent, Rory Cellan-Jones.
Midnight and crowds rush to get their hands on what could well be the biggest selling entertainment product of all time. It's not an album or a movie, but a game that fans have been desperate to play.
I've been here since Friday, 5 o'clock in the morning, a bit tired, but I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on the game.
Grand Theft Auto 5 is a violent, 18-rated game with extraordinary graphics and a cinematic sweep. Let's go.
Ed Truckle from Cardiff approved, emailing us, the meat of the story was interactive media surpassing film as the most profitable format, an important turning point in the entertainment industry. Also showing that the franchise had a broad demographic appeal is to be commended, hopefully dispelling the convenient image of the spotty teenager still used by detractors. There are detractors of video games and of their coverage on BBC News programmes, while others believe the media have been slow to take seriously what they think of as a major cultural phenomenon. The controversy over violent and misogynistic images in games like GTA is also never far from the surface, and it prompted this tweet from someone called RNY. Report of man attacked for his copy of GTA mentioned violent content of game. Don't see relevance of content to the cause of the attack. People are mugged for non-violent items all the time. Well, to discuss how the BBC covers video games such as Grand Theft Auto, I'm joined now by Rory Cellan-Jones himself, the BBC's technology correspondent. We know that video game coverage in the news does divide the audience. There are those who think it's irrelevant and those for whom it's a normal part of their leisure activity. How do you construct coverage given those different audiences?
I think it is difficult, and I think the coverage has changed over the years. Years ago, I found it frankly difficult to get on a story about video games that was not about violence, that was not about a threat to children's well-being. Nowadays, it is slightly easier to get coverage of the game, a game such as Grand Theft Auto, as a major business and cultural event. When you think about that launch this week, it did turn out to be the biggest single entertainment product launch of all time. So an important business story, and according to a lot of the reviewers, the games reviewers, who are now becoming a more established breed, it was a cultural high point in the history of games. So I think it was important that we covered that.
One of the concerns is that the business side of it is a convenient way to sidestep the concerns that there are over the content. The fact that a lot of these games are 18 certificate, there is a lot of violence in them, and often quite misogynistic content. Should they be covered more as cultural events?
Well, I think we did actually mention the fact, I was very keen to put into the script that this was an adult 18-rated game and shouldn't be played by younger people. But I think it's important that is not the only aspect of gaming that gets into our coverage.
There is a concern with the business side of them, that these big launches like the Apple launch we've just had this week, we see them all the time, and that the BBC's news coverage could end up just being part of that PR.
It's a concern that I have to say I get from editors all the time. Every time I come to an editor with a new technology story, that they are worried that it will be seen as just another product launch. I point back to events like the first ever iPhone, the first iPhone back in 2007, and say that turned out to be a major turning point in a whole industry. It changed the way we live, in effect. It brought about a new way of using the internet on the move. And it would have been a mistake just to say that's just a product launch, we must not cover it. I think we have to be choosy. We have to decide which of them are more than just another product, which of them are actually turning points in the way we use technology. But I don't think we should be overcautious at the same time.
Well, tell me about the turning points thing, because I can remember a few years ago, you know, a lot of news coverage of things like Second Life, which is being hailed as this important turning point in technology, and that's died without trace, really. You know, how do you make judgments on when you should be covering some of these emerging technologies?
It's always a risk. You only have to look back at old editions of Tomorrow's World from decades ago. Some of the things they showed there are now part of our everyday lives. Some of them, personal jetpacks, somehow never took off in any kind of way. It's a gamble. Every now and then I see a product that makes me go, wow, that really is going to change our lives. Sometimes I turn out to be completely wrong, but it's actually more difficult to get them on than you might think. So I think it's worth trying to push to get more of those stories onto our coverage.
And just briefly, why is it sometimes hard? Is there a sense of some editors a bit curmudgeonly, dare I say it, a bit old-fashioned about their attitude to technologies and entertainment?
I think one of the problems is the lack of what we call a news peg. A lot of these developments, wearable technology, for instance, the next big thing. How do I get wearable technology onto the news without an actual event happening, a new product? We did get that story on earlier this year with a piece about Google Glass. But it is quite difficult to get them past editors. What's happening today? I'm only interested in what's happening today. I've got to show them an event that they can build a story around.
Rory Cellan-Jones, thank you very much.
Thank you.